Hello.
Hello, and welcome back to the Canadian Bro Show. Another amazing journey into the minds of a couple of crazy Canucks. Welcome to the Canadian Bro Show. My name's Paul. They call me Paul Bale, and they've called me a lot of different things. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show, and the handsome gentleman in the toque that looks like he's Canadian. He's the Canadian mascot for all of Canada, second largest country in the world, the one and only, the host with the most, Mr. John Leister. Johnny,
Hello,
how you
everybody.
doing?
I'm good. How are you, Pauly? Good to see you again.
I'm better now. It's always nice to be seen, Johnny. Thank you. And welcome back. And today, Johnny, we're going to be talking about Meet the Bros.
Wow. Part two.
And we want to talk about what it's like to be Canadian. What makes us different than everybody else in this world, aside from the fact that we're a little bit strange, slightly mentally unwell at times, aloof, goofy, partially crazy,
cold,
creative. And Johnny, so the show today is essentially Meet the Bros. A lot of people have not been on the show before, and if you're joining us, we certainly appreciate it. We ask everybody to, if you're interested in coming back, and our channel is growing, a little less than a year in now, and we're doing fairly good, and it's not too bad, and it is growing. Once I get the light situation sorted, it's a little technical stuff here and there, but Johnny and I were just less than a year, and this is our 83rd episode 53, and that is Meet the Bros. What is it like to be Canadian, Johnny?
I got a whole bunch of questions lined up for you, brother.
Okay, so answer the question before we get into it, bro.
Okay.
What is it like? You're wearing a Canadian toque, bro. You're wearing a Canadian shirt. You're probably wearing Canadian thong.
Yeah, Canadian.
Okay.
Doctor.
What does it mean to you truly?
To be Canadian.
If somebody said, what makes Canada so special to you? What would be the first thing that you would say?
Well, the first thing that I can think of, not to be overly melodramatic, is just freedom. I just love the fact that I live in a free country, that you and I get to be pretty much who we want to be. I mean, all countries have their own restrictions, but some countries have restrictions that are pretty severe and pretty harsh. And unfortunately, those people, they really don't have very much of a chance or an opportunity to get out of the hole they're in unless they get out of where they're living. But fortunately, regardless of who our politicians are, and they tend to lean a little bit towards the left, I find, but even the ones that lean a little more towards the right, they seem to be fairly middle of the road to me. I'm not a very political guy, but I'm 60 years old, and I've never felt like I was living in a police state or in a tyranny or in a dictatorship. I've always felt that whatever government happened to be in power at the time, whether it's NDP or the Conservatives or the Liberals, I've always felt that I've had enough wiggle room to be pretty much who I want to be. To me, that's what it means to be Canadian. I think Canadians tend to be tolerant. We accept other cultures. We're interested in other cultures. We're interested in learning. I mean, I don't want to paint with too much of a broad brush, because at the end of the day, people are people. We're all the same in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to our emotions. But I think part of being Canadian just means accepting, taking the high road. We don't pick fights, but I think that many of us can finish fights if we need to. And we tend to be deferential. I think we tend to be sometimes a little bit humorless, I find. Sometimes I'll crack a joke at work and people look at me like I'm crazy. Again, I don't want to overly generalize. Maybe I'm not a very good comedian. But I think that Canada is a very tolerant country. We do welcome other cultures, and it's a melting pot. It's a mosaic. And I'm a very proud Canadian, and I'm so grateful that I live here, and I'm grateful to God that I was born here. Because as I said earlier, there are many other places around the world where unfortunately those people are just they're out of luck, because the people running the countries are insane.
In the membrane.
And power.
What a way to start the show, and a powerful answer. And Johnny so eloquently presented once again. And thank you for that. That was very detailed. And you couldn't have answered it any better. I'm just wondering, do you have more of that as the show moves forward?
I do.
Welcome to the show, everyone. This is Meet the Bros on the Canadian Bro Show. What is it like to be Canadian, eh? This is our episode 53 of 83. We also have 30 episodes on the second iteration of the Canadian Bro Show, which is all Hoop Junkies, presented by Basketball from all Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Raleigh. Our new episode 30 is starting tomorrow for our second season.
Cool.
So I'm excited about that. And 83 episodes in, you know, a lot of people ask, it's like, especially when I was playing basketball in Europe, and everybody, when I opened my mouth, it sounded like they thought I was American. And
sounds a little British to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is 25, 30 years ago too, right? And of course, it was probably, though all those years later, it was probably better to be a Canadian than anything else abroad. But I didn't know that, because really it was only one of the few times I've actually left Canada and realized how important Canada was in my life. And immigrating from Europe in the UK with my parents when I was very young, and moving to Winnipeg, and thank God my parents got the heck out of Winnipeg. It's beautiful, great people.
But
They
very
just
cool.
went to the Pacific West Coast, Northwest Coast in Vancouver, and specifically Kitsilano. And I couldn't have asked for certainly that first choice of where I grew up and how that influenced me as a Canadian. And what makes me proud to be a Canadian is I actually am so proud to be a Canadian that as I get older and we do this show, I created this show called the Canadian Bro Show, and could not believe the title was available. Thank you. And I've been thinking, but this is my passion for over 15 years, and YouTube's been around about 20 years. And I just said, wow, what would really speak to me and many other people I know, friends and family, and all these people I've known in my lives and travels and everything. You know, they ask me what it's like, what is it really like to be a Canadian? We don't know anything about it. And even our American friends down south don't know anything about Canada for the most part. It's quite amazing that they don't, especially when they're our neighbors and the history.
We're the attic of North America.
I'm telling you, and we provide, and we are providers. Yeah, and we're a very proud people. We're a very happy people. We're a very humble people. We're a very empathetic people, compassionate, overly friendly, and we can be the life of the party, and we could also be the really polite chap sitting quietly in the corner, ready for someone to engage him in conversation. But you know, Canada is a very special place, second largest country in the world. We've done episodes on Canadianism, but you know, if you haven't been to the Canadian Bro Show, you know, get to meet the bros and all of our guests. And Johnny, we talked about this in our pre-show, and we said, you know, let's just let's pretend we're just asking questions to strangers or questions that people have asked us, and how can we answer those questions? Johnny, what do you have? Do you have any questions? You got some questions?
Well, Americans have presidents. We have prime ministers. Pauly, who is your favorite prime minister? And who is your least favorite prime minister? I think I can guess that one. But the first one, I'm not too sure.
Well,
our duly elected leaders.
Yes. No, I understand the question, and thank you for that, because I have been a little bit more political in the later stages of my life. And yeah. And but I think it's a right to vote, and I think, quite frankly, I think like tax and death, I think it should be mandatory. I think we should all vote. If we had 40 million plus voting that were Canadians right now, we would have a clearer path in this country moving forward. Just 10 years ago, we were the fifth strongest country in the GDP in the world, and that was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And, you know, we're in the late 30s right now, hovering with countries that we shouldn't be. And so I would say that the biggest transition and issue I've seen is lack of leadership, of people actually really know what they're doing.
So who's the best prime minister in your opinion?
I'd say the current one we have right now that's apparently spent $58 billion in a couple of months. And that's more than what the last outgoing government, who had zero leadership and was completely inept in so many different ways. But I would say Carney is the man to be leading Canada in the 21st century. He's a vastly more educated man. He's been to Harvard. He's been to all these Ivy League schools. He saved the UK from and Brexit, and was the bank of in control of the Bank of England. And he also took over when Trudeau and that 10-year period was also part of the Canadian Bank of Canada. And his leadership financially, this is where his strengths are. He is a businessman that has incredible acumen and extremely, extremely popular globally. Unlike so many of our powerful people leading big countries, that the vast majority of every other country in the world, they simply cannot stand these people. Okay. However, Carney doesn't suffer from that. I would say Carney is the best prime minister Canada's had, and give him a time to spend some more money before
spend our money.
Oh God.
It's always easy to spend other people's money. Okay, who is the worst? I bet I can guess.
I would say the worst that has actually been a prime minister. I don't have enough education on politics in Canada to say the actual worst, but I have to admit that Trudeau really, I've never seen a fall from grace.
Now you mean the son you're talking about?
Yeah, the son. Yeah, not his father. I was too young to understand what his father was doing, but I did serve them, and I did meet Trudeau's parents a couple of times.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I was in the hospitality industry, and they came in the Girard dining room, and it was high-end restaurant, French restaurant. Anyways,
you are the Forrest Gump of the hospitality industry.
Well, I'm a lot of things. I've been told I'm a lot of things. Some pleasant, some not so pleasant. But getting to your question, I'd have to say that the biggest concern I have is that we didn't have Carney. We would have that I don't even know what to call him. I should probably be generous and say something relatively nice, but he's really just a slimy rat that is the leader of the Conservative Party, this Pauly clown show. He has absolutely nothing to offer. He has nothing to offer, and he is not. Carney just looks at him when they're in Parliament together, and they have to do their little game where Pauly tries to come out and bitch slap somebody and embarrass him. Carney just laughs him off and just shoves him like a piece of dandruff on his shoulder, and it's like, next. It's just he is. I'm so glad Carney's there, because if we had that clown show running Canada, we'd be toast. I'd have to leave Canada probably, and I don't want to leave Canada. I love Canada. I'm Canadian, eh?
We don't want you to leave either. Do you have a question for me, brother? Do you want to do it that way? You go back and forth like ping pong?
Well, no, I want to talk because Johnny and I were going to do an episode, but the rain, the Vancouver rain sometimes can be an issue more often than not. And we weren't able to get it together and do some filming outside where we would interview people, preferably tourists or a mixture of Canadians, tourists, and whatever, and ask them questions about what it's like to be Canadian. Why are you in Canada? Where are you from? And so, Johnny, why don't you just use your writing skills and ask a general question to me, and then I'll give you my short answer, and then you give me your short answer.
Sure.
How's that sound?
It sounds fantastic. Okay. Should Canada join the U.S.? It's on my list.
Oh, so you mean like be annexed to the 51st state?
Do you think that Canada in any way could benefit from that? I mean, I'm totally against it, but I don't know enough about it.
No, not at all. No, first of all, never happen.
It won't
never happen. And it shouldn't happen. Canada's the potentially not only the second largest country in the world in terms of mass, but the mineral resource and the wealth that we have on this massive planet, this amazing country we call Canada, is extraordinary. The mineral wealth, the water, the timber, it just goes on and on. We have more water than 25% of the entire world.
Treasure trove.
So you wonder why the clown show that is the 80-year-old baby, and he's just wah, and he just wants everything that we have because they don't have it. But what they don't have is true leadership, and we didn't have it with the last policymakers. And now we've got Carney spending a lot of money, but he is approaching this like a business, like he's a CEO. Like he's the head of a corporation, like he's the head of the Bank of Canada, like he's head of the Bank of England, like he's the head of leadership from Brexit back to the UK, like he's, I mean, honestly, we couldn't ask for a better time, and we just need time to see it all hopefully unfold and work. And what he's done in a very short period of time is quite remarkable. And by the
Okay.
way, I'm a centrist. I'm a centralist. I'm neither left or right. I do have
Yeah.
conservative right
I think
financial thing.
most people are somewhere in
I,
the
I
middle.
don't know. I don't speak for anyone. I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah.
And that's my little blurb on your really good question.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yourself.
You too.
You
Okay.
don't
Do you want
follow politics, but
I used to, and it just was too much of a drain on my mental health.
all right. Well, let's move on then.
Okay. Um, let's see. Do you think Canadian politeness is misunderstood by other cultures as weakness? Because we're pretty famous for our sense of decorum, which sometimes can be a little overstated.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think after seeing so many countries that are in power and how they treat people,
Mm.
but either by mass or individually, and how they view themselves, it's quite shocking actually. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm really really proud to be Canadian solely because of that. To be honest, if I could stay the rest of my life in Canada for the most part, I'd be quite happy to do that. It's massive. There's so much to see in Canada.
Mm.
And when I get my camper van and my doggy, and I take my cameras and I hit the road, and I'm going to take the Canadian Bro Show van life and get out there and showcase Canada. It's absolutely massive. You have no idea how big it is.
Mm.
But yeah, you?
Okay. Well, do you have a question for me?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you know, you're in Canada.
Mm.
You're here for a purpose. You haven't gone anywhere else. Is there a reason why you've stayed
Well,
in Kitsilano your entire life? I mean, it's
I
one of the
mean,
best places in the world.
I did go to Australia last year. That was an amazing experience. But no, I mean, like you said earlier, I can only repeat your answer like a parrot. Is basically, Canada is a great country. Kitsilano, for those who are unaware, is a very beautiful neighborhood
Yeah.
in Vancouver. It's on the west side of Vancouver. We have Kitts Beach and Jericho Beach, and
Locarno Beach, Spanish Banks.
it's pretty clean,
Yeah.
and people for the most part are very friendly. Parts of it are middle class, and parts of it are very affluent. A lot of actors and crew that make film productions and TV productions here in Vancouver. That's probably where they're living,
Yeah.
and it's just I love kids. Now I'm not. I mean, I'm malleable. If I had to move, if I had no choice, I would. I could live anywhere in the world. But if I lived the rest of my days in Kits, I would be very happy. I would be very content to stay there because it
So,
is.
just for people that don't know, and I agree with you, Johnny, and thank you for that, Kitsilano is named after Chief First Nations chief named Chief George August Castellano.
Mm,
That used to, well, they still do own the land. The Musqueam band's right next door. And Kitsilano was named from that, and that's the beach area that we grew up in Vancouver. It's on the west side. It's beautiful beach, and it's a place that I would love to live right now. I live downtown, and I really miss Kits because there's a certain vibe there, a certain
yeah.
energy, and it will always be there for us as true Kitsies, Kitsilano guys grew up in Kits, especially in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. But if there's anything you've noticed, have you noticed anything about Vancouver and being Canadian in the last sort of decade? Have you noticed anything different in Vancouver that has stood
Well,
out to you about? It's obviously we grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s.
yeah.
It's not those times. It's
we
changed. Vancouver's changed dramatically. What's happened?
we we grew up in an age where none of this technology existed. It's hard to believe, but we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have the internet. If you wanted information, you had to go to the library. You had to
Yeah.
consult an encyclopedia, or maybe ask your Aunt Tilly.
Or go to
And
a video store.
I think that overall, I prefer the age that we're living in now, but I'm so grateful that I lived with both feet in both generations, because I think that there are pluses and minuses. That's just the way that life works.
Yeah.
Life is about change, and of course, what has changed about Vancouver is what has changed over the entire world, which is that most people are spending most of their time, or a considerable amount of time, looking at their phones. And of course, there's a loss that comes with that. When you see a group of kids hanging out outside of school, or maybe a young couple, they're out on a date and they're looking at their phones, they're not paying attention to each other. To me, that's a little bit heartbreaking. But I feel that negative is worth what is positive. Look at this. Look at what we're doing right now. I mean, imagine if we were in our 60s, living in the 1970s. We wouldn't be doing this, right?
No,
I,
we'd be sitting on our porch with the
watching
hibachi, smoking a
watching
joint.
one of the three channels that were available to us when we were
Yeah,
kids,
listening to Motown, smoking a doobie,
and probably
and
having fun and
yeah,
enjoying ourselves. Like I said, there's always a trade-off. Everything in life has a trade-off. But I feel that with this technology, it really does open doors, particularly for late bloomers like ourselves. Or I don't mean to speak for you, Paul, but I definitely characterize myself as a character and also as a very late bloomer. And
you're
so,
certainly both of those. That's for sure.
you as well. And so I think that's really the biggest thing.
Touche.
Yeah. Here we go. Sorrow's back. All right, I have a question for you. What is Canada's greatest natural resource? We touched on that earlier. Which one would you put at the top?
I think the
I,
greatest natural resource is our location on this planet
Hmm.
and the sheer size of that location and its dominance in the Western Hemisphere. With the advent of global warming, it's quite obvious what's going on up north, and there's a big shift towards the China and Russia and America and Canada and Greenland and Denmark and everybody. There's a shift to the Arctic as that area opens up because of the global warming. The ice caps are melting and the water is rising, and there is now a shorter, more fiscally responsible route that can be utilized in all major oceans in the world and not have to go through the Panama Suez Canal and what the Mexicans are building as well. And I believe another country is doing the same thing. So we could actually do a pipeline going all the way into the Bay of Manitoba and build it and have ships go out that way through the Bering Strait. And you have access to the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, Southeast Asia. I mean, it's global. You can go everywhere. So we can bypass our previous trade partners that have seemed to have forgotten about us or never really cared. I don't think that's the case at all.
Partners?
Anyway, so I would say that right there is the first thing that comes to my mind, and it's absolutely what's going on in this world right now, and it's the race to either take us over, annex us, or we build and we make it Canadian moving forward, elbows up. Keep it Canadian, keep it in-house, build Canada. We should have done it a long time ago.
Okay, better late than never. Do you have a question for me? I got a whole bunch more.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Who is your favorite Canadian hero?
Hero.
Yeah, besides John Leister.
Who?
Said it with me. Good one. Rejoiner.
Yeah. Johnny Leister. Oh my God. It's like seriously.
I mean, off the top of my head, I would say Terry Fox for me. Yeah. Terry Fox, for those of you who are unaware, was a young marathon runner who was stricken with cancer. He had one leg, and he, I think it was in the early 1980s, I want to say 1982, he ran what was called a Marathon of Hope to raise funds for cancer. And he ran across the country with one leg and one mechanical leg. And if that's not a hero, then I don't know what is.
I agree with you. I mean, I had to think about it automatically. I go to sports, of course. But I would agree with you and say that modern hero would be Terry Fox. He went to SFU, Summer Fraser University, one of my alumni, alma mater, university and post-secondary education. But for me, I'm going to go stick with my basketball roots, and I'm going to go to the man that invented the sport of basketball, Dr. James Naismith. And in the late 1800s, he was working at the YMCA in Massachusetts under an American, business. He was a teacher, a professor, and they came up to him and asked him to create a sport in the winter because the East Coast in Massachusetts, if you haven't been there, all our American friends know in the East Coast what it's like, and like what it's like in the East Coast of Canada and the Maritimes and Ontario and Quebec. It is, you're on the Atlantic Ocean. It gets cold. And there's cyclones and hurricanes and wet, cold, nasty weather. So at the end of the day, he came up with the sport that he called basketball, and it's 13 original rules. and through a peach basket, created indoor sport basketball, and it evolved. And a couple years after he started the sport, the very first European basketball club started in the late 1900s called Montepaschi Siena, who are in the A1 of the EuroLeague currently. And they're still the very first basketball club outside Canada and America that started it. And I have to give it to James Naismith, because what an amazing sport, and what an amazing Canadian hero.
There you go. Good answer.
Thank
Well,
you.
if he hadn't invented basketball, brother, I think you would have been the inventor of basketball, because I think that's what came with you to your corporeal existence.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a whole bunch more questions. Here's
Please.
one. Put your thinking toque on for this one, brother.
Mm.
What does Canada look like a century from now?
Wow. That's a real challenge right there, bro. I would say, based on where the planet's going right now and the nut jobs that run some of the more powerful countries in this world, and I'm thinking, if we don't have an alien invasion and intervention from another solar system to save us all, I don't think the planet will be here in 100
Really?
years, in a millennium.
Aw,
Yeah,
bummer.
I'm sorry about that. I honestly, you put a little too much faith in the human condition.
Wow.
And that's a bit dark, but if not, then I would see it would be something like Jetsons meets Star Wars,
Or
and
maybe more like Terminator with the AI taking over.
throw that in. And that would be cool, right there, in
Well,
space.
we'd be in the Resistance for sure.
Well, we'd be in the intergalactic. I mean, honestly, we could talk about that. We could do a show on that alone. But that's a great question. What about you?
Okay. What do I see Canada as a century now? Not all that different.
Yeah.
I mean, look, when we were kids, our visions of the future were pretty wild. Like, right? We thought about flying cars and, 1,000-story buildings, and we watched the Jetsons when we were kids, and that's what we thought what the future was going to look like.
I love the Jetsons.
You said, well, who didn't love the Jetsons? 100 years from now, I think there's not going to be that much of a change. I think it's going to be business as usual to a large part. Human nature is not going to change. Human nature is what it is. There's good, there's bad, and there's all this stuff.
Hence my comment.
Yeah, and as long as people remain proactive and are willing to stick their necks out and step up to the plate, more of us need to do that. There's too many people walking around that are not believing themselves. Now, if there's too many people that are doing that, then the future looks very bleak, and that's not a Canadian thing. Again, that's a human nature.
And again, this is about Canada and being Canadian. And Johnny just brought up a really good part. We're very proud people, and that pride is not a pride of vengeance, not a pride of ego. It's a kind, warm, generous, friendly, jovial. And one of John's earliest questions, if not the first one, was a really good question, and that is, being so friendly, being so Canadian, would people take advantage of that? And of course they do. In my experience and what I've seen in all industries, absolutely.
Yeah.
Weakness is perceived by quite a few people.
Weakness. It's very sad.
And then it is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make me stop being the true Canadian that I am, and how I grew up. I'll never change, hopefully.
And this is why some people become a-holes. They didn't start off that way. When we're babies, we're all the same, right? We're all wide-eyed, and everything in the world is absolutely amazing, and we love everybody around us, and we want to walk with a vengeance. But as we get older, we accumulate a lot of memories of people treating us poorly, and if we dwell on that stuff, then that encourages us to follow their reverse example. And that's why some people are hard to get along with. You say good morning to them, and they just look at you like you're a total weirdo, because their mindset is everybody's out to get me, everybody's out to take advantage of me, and I think we're all guilty of that a little bit sometimes.
I agree with you. But on a positive note, I would think of my favorite show on YouTube is Van City Van Life with Chrome Valdez from Vancouver. Been watching him for about 8 years now, and watch him every day. Especially when he does his East Coast trips, because he's making money for the show, and he's got this brand new van, and it's expensive and everything. But my point is that, when I see people like that take those leaps and bounds and go into the abyss and grab a camera and then create their life, they're going into what they think they want to, but don't know. Living in Canada, what you've grown up in. You know what the standards are. You know how Canadians are for the most part. The multiculturalism has always been, and certainly in the West Coast, has always been
I
open
mean,
arms.
we were kids, we had friends with some of my best friends were Indo-Canadian, right?
Dude, I
A
was a
lot of
wannabe Greek growing
a
up.
lot a lot of cultures are very homogenous, if that's the right word, right? It's just
Yeah.
like everybody has to, it's like almost like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Well, look at us, bro. I mean, we couldn't look any more homogenous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're pretty white. But I'm just saying, one of our best friends, I think I can say his name, Jazz Dursadoo, is one of my best friends growing up.
Sure. Yeah. I grew up with him too. He was friends of mine too.
I never thought of him as East Indian or Indian. He was just a guy I hung out with.
I tell you what, though, when we went to go pick him up at the condo, that you could smell the curry from 2 blocks away.
Yeah. Oh, they used to gross.
Oh my God, she could cook, man.
That was the kid that made me sick to my stomach.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Oh my God, they used to invite me in all the time, and I was like, "What do you got in the curry?" And I'm like, "Oh, big surprise. Okay, I'll have some."
Hanging out at the apartment, and his dad wore turban, and I thought, well, that's different. Yeah, I didn't think it was weird. I just thought it's just different. It's just,
they used to barbecue on the patio, and then they eventually because they own the whole building right around the side. They were on the corner. Yeah. And then they took over the top 2 floors when they finally. Anyways, that was great memories. Great memories.
I swam in his pool every summer with his brother Ravi, and again, they were just. And I think
Ravi was my dentist for a while in kids.
I bump into him sometimes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there are some places in the world, and I don't want to get negative, but again, it's just all things are relative. And where some people just have this monomania mindset where everybody has to be like, they're the standard, and you better wear what I wear and think how I think and follow the God that I follow and pray 25 times a day or we'll cut your head off. I mean, there's some people living under this kind of regime. And I think that all sucks. I'm very judgmental about that stuff.
Yeah,
and again, I'm so glad, I don't want to offend anyone who thinks that's good, although maybe that's not so good. But I'm just so grateful that I live in a country where we don't have those kinds of severe restrictions.
Yeah.
Where we're pretty much can be whatever we want to be if we believe in ourselves.
Yes. No, that's good points. What are some of your other questions, bro?
Okay, let me check the list here. He's making a list, checking it twice. What would you change about Canada if you had a magic wand right now, if you had the power, like He-Man? What would you change?
Oh, what would I change? That's a good question.
I
would change. I would change how all levels of government, from the federal. First, I would start with the federal government. I would completely redo the federal government from top to bottom, incrementally, and as important, the judicial system in Canada is broken beyond repair. It has more holes than Swiss cheese. If you want to be a criminal and engage in fraud, as an example, Canada is one of the best places in the world.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I can go on, but we're trying to be positive here in the Canadian Bro Show.
I
would say the judicial system, the immigration system, and the federal government. Yeah. Their spending it's out of control. That's the first thing I would do based on what I've seen. It's completely out of control, and that's easier said than done because it's been the same system for how many decades?
Right. I tell you what I would like to see changed is this whole revolving door of crime, where the cops will arrest a guy for breaking and entering, and then he's out on the street 24 hours later. This is
the judicial system Canadian judicial system is got more holes than Swiss cheese. You've got repeat offenders. You've got a guy that's stolen 427 cars.
Oh yeah.
And the cops know his name. They know where he lives, again in a different place, and he's released that day. And he's a habitual. And you think of how many cars he's stolen, how many lives he's affected, and some people he's stolen from the same guy 4 and 5 times.
I've been working security for 35 years, and I've had a lot of conversations with cops, and I've heard this many times. Oh man, I've heard this over and over again. I've heard this 1,000 times. This guy. Oh, it's this guy again. Oh man, I just busted this guy a week ago. Like, some people are just messed up.
It's honestly it's usually drugs, Johnny. It's usually they're addicts, right? I mean, mental illness. And look, it's a broken system.
Unfortunate people is that the good innocent people like ourselves, or let's say relatively, we have to take their crap. and we shouldn't have
Johnny,
to.
just a quick interjection. Are you really innocent?
Sort of, kind of. Again, on a relative scale. Well, we're born innocent. You know, none of us are angels at the end of the day. We try to be good person most of the time.
We're born innocent and we leave as an angel?
We were born heroes, we die villains sometimes, but it doesn't have to be that way. I certainly don't want to die a victim. If I die a violent death, I want to die on my feet, fighting to the very last breath, just like an action hero. That's how I want it.
Well, that you might just get your wish, Johnny.
Protecting an innocent person.
Who knows? Let's talk about Canada and you got some juicy questions.
Okay, here we go. Scrolling. Okay, what's Canada's best tourist attraction?
Well, best or most popular?
Most popular. What's, when people approach me at work, for example, they want to know about the Capilano Suspension Bridge.
Oh, well, here on the West Coast, or are you talking about Canada? Because Canada's huge, bro. Every province is going to have 100.
For those of you who've never been to Canada, we have a bridge in BC that's like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It's a little not quite so rickety though, and a little safer. And it's a very popular tourist attraction. I'm not sure. Well, it's in Capilano, obviously.
Yeah.
But, when I'm at work, a lot of tourists will approach me and they'll ask me about that one. Or they'll ask me about the peony.
Well, there are a lot of tourist pros, Johnny, because he usually wears what he's wearing today.
Niagara Falls, I would say, is probably the most popular.
And people just think he's like the Canadian, the British Columbian. He's the guy that the BC NDP government's. That's why they've spent $12 billion. Their budget's bloated because they hire, almost anybody.
Captain Knucklehead.
I'm telling you, that's exactly you. That's perfect. I love it. But So I mean, what do people want to know about Canada, Johnny? What do you got on those questions?
Okay, let's see. Okay, who's your favorite Canadian author? Besides John Leister.
Yeah, that would be my runner-up. I think we've already been through that, but I would have to, whether they're author or not, I would rather answer it as a writer, because there are writers that can be prolific and have done books, and they've done poems and prose and film and theater, and I mean they're just So if it was Canadian and someone like that, that's a good question, man. And not one's bouncing right off the top of my head. I can name a couple that I grew up with that I knew. Billy Livingston. I grew up in Vancouver. She's a very popular Vancouver female writer. And I'm going to go with my friend. And I've read one of his books finally, and he's been on our show. I'm going to go. You know who I'm going with, right? Jonathan J. Brown. I'm going to go. He's my favorite Canadian. Is he the most prolific? Is he the best? No, but he's my favorite. And I think about him almost every day of everything that he's going through. And I hope he gets out. The last time he was on our show, I think he was in the three books in the works. So amazing. I just hope he can really bang those out. And I look forward to reading them all.
Yeah, we should get him on the show again.
We should.
Okay. What is the greatest...
What about you? Who's your favorite Canadian writer?
Favorite author besides myself?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I'm going to go with... gosh, I should have prepared for that answer. I'm going to go with William Shatner.
Oh, my God. He's still with us, eh? He's in the hospital, but he's hanging in there.
He's written or ghost-written. Maybe, he's had co-writers. But his book, Star Trek Memories, is one of the... We had to get Star Trek in there at some point. Is absolutely one of the funniest how TV show is made. And just one hilarious anecdote after another. William Shatner used to steal Leonard Nimoy's bicycle when they were on their lunch breaks. At one time, he attached a pit bull to a chain, and he attached the other end of the chain to Leonard Nimoy's bicycle. Stuff like this went on the set. And,
do you know why Nimoy would get upset because the bike was stolen? Because he used the bike to go on a power booze lunch hour breaks, and the bike he wouldn't get pulled over for drink driving, and he didn't have to use a chauffeur to leave the set and get back, and he could drink as much vodka as he wants. Right
there you go. So off the top of my head, I'm going to go with William Shatner.
Yeah, God bless him. He's hanging in there, 95 years old. He's a legend.
He's absolutely one of my ultimate role models.
Right.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions on the list here.
Okay.
Do-do-do-do-do. Favorite Canadian city besides Vancouver?
Well, I'm obviously so biased for that,
Mm.
and my favorite Canadian city is where I live for half the year.
And now
And
Kelowna is a city. I thought it
yes,
was like a town.
no,
Okay,
it's a city, bro. Yeah,
I've never been.
yeah. Well, the invitation's open.
Okay,
Got a
cool.
house there. Got a room for you.
Thank you. Awesome.
And I mean, even if it's just a weekend or something, but it depends on your schedule, right? You just need to get like a day and a half, 2 days off, and
Sure.
we could film live in
That'd be fun.
Kelowna. Anyways, yeah, I mean, Quebec City, Montreal, my God, Toronto's pretty amazing. Calgary's beautiful. I mean, I like Calgary, but Vancouver is the one. But Kelowna, I'd have to. I'm different stage in my life, and Kelowna gives me everything I want at this stage of my life. People are friendly. The weather's great. There's golf. I can walk across the street. There's a 10-acre park across the street from my house. There's 24 beaches. I can get on my bike and I can go to 24 beaches in an
Wow.
afternoon if I wanted
24.
to.
That's a lot of beaches.
Well, I've done it a couple of times just to see how many there are and count. But aside from that, it's a desert. Like it's the top end of the Sonoran Desert, and people are really genuinely friendly. It's like growing up in Kitsilano in the 70s,
Wow.
in my
Well,
opinion.
we had it was pretty blissful when we were
We're
kids.
lucky. We're so lucky.
We were very lucky.
Good question though.
I think I have one more, and then
Okay.
I think the sands of the hourglass are running out. Let's go with okay. Here's a little bit of a hot button question, Pauly.
Mhm.
What Canadian political event outraged you the most
Recently
at any given time?
in Canada?
Yeah, for me it would probably be the FLQ crisis in the early 1970s, where we actually had some crazy French separatists running around killing politicians. I just
Yeah.
remember as a kid, it felt like Canada was falling apart.
Yeah. No, I was
really,
I was too young for that. I probably didn't believe it was happening. Or didn't care. I don't know.
it was very apocalyptic.
Yeah. I don't really have an answer for that because it's beyond the realm of, in my opinion, rationality.
Gotcha.
And I never got involved in politics until I was later in life. And everything I've seen in politics is just a lot of adults lying all the time.
Mm.
And that's where my perspective was. But if that's your only question,
Yeah.
we got to leave on a positive note, bro.
Okay. Something positive. Okay. Okay. I got a couple more. Okay. Favorite Canadian actor?
Well, I think we probably brought this up
Yeah.
a couple of times, but I would have to go with who's the best Canadian actor in the world right now, and that's Ryan Reynolds. Only because he grew up in Kits and went to Kitsilano High, our high
We
school,
went to our high school.
and always supported him. Been watching him for a long time, and he seems like a good chap. And what he did with the purchase of the soccer team in the UK, and growing that, and I think he's involved in sports. I think he started his own tequila. He sold that,
Wow.
like Clooney did, for like 600 billion. I mean, my God, I guess tequila is really popular, right? But yeah, I have to go Ryan Reynolds because he's just so popular. He's so charming, and he's very charismatic, and he has a lot of depth and range.
Good answer. For me, again, it's Shatner. He's just such an icon. He's such a self-believer. He's done everything that a human being could do in a lifetime.
Yeah.
He sees life as I watched an interview with him one time, and I've talked to this before. And the interview asked him, like, "You have such a zest for life. Like, what motivates you to be so passionate?" And he said, "Because I feel the scythe of death scratching my back
Oh my
all the
goodness.
time." And I think it's a good way to go through life. I mean, you don't want to be. They can push you in the other direction. That kind of attitude might turn you into a couch potato. But that seems to work for him. I mean, there's a man who's really, really grabbed that lemon and squeezed every single little drop out of it. And he's just so watchable. He just really goes for it every time. So I think those are all my questions, bro.
Well, you'd never know Johnny's a fan of Sir William Shatner. In the meantime, we are going to wrap the show up. We just wanted to give you a little tidbit, a little bit of a shorter video on Meet the Bros and talk about Canada. Every once in a while, we like to just sort of go on the whim and And off the top of our head, with a little bit of writing and a pre-show, we'll talk about it. If you've enjoyed this content or you're interested in watching some more of the Canadian Bro Show, at the Canadian Bro Show on YouTube. We have 3 iterations so far. We have Johnny and I, this is our 53rd episode of the first iteration of the Canadian Bro Show, and that's basically Canadian pop culture. And a lot of different things we like to talk about. Canada's a big country, and it's diversified, and there's a lot to talk about. And the second iteration is on the great sport that I mentioned. Dr. James Naismith invented the sport of basketball, Canadian, like
Thanks.
hockey. Hockey was invented in Canada. Lacrosse was invented in Canada. And CFL was invented in Canada. So there's a lot of accolades and a lot of things that Canada has contributed in this world. And what it's contributing right now is a country of calmness and resilience and compassion. And we stay together, and we believe in our country. We believe in Canadian spirit, and we believe in being kind. And we're a nation of hardworking, proud people. And we're going to fight together to keep this nation, and elbows up, and every other phrase that you can come up with in Canada. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining the Canadian Bro Show. This is episode 53. If you'd like to leave a comment on future episodes, or perhaps something that you feel it's really important in Canada, whether you're a new Canadian, a just landed immigrant, or you want to come to Canada, we would love to have you on the show. If you're interested in moving to Canada specifically, why? And that's sort of, we're looking for a guest that is very interested in moving to Canada, and we can really have in-deep details into what Canada can offer somebody, and it's really quite remarkable. It's obviously, we're biased, but I think it's the greatest country in the world, and I'm so proud to be Canadian, and I'm proud to be with Johnny on the Canadian Bro Show, a show that I just founded less than a year ago. And again, please subscribe, like, comment, and share, and come on back.
You hear?
Yeah. And
Did you read the
Johnny,
book?
yes, I did.
Oh, good. Let's hear your book.
You go ahead first.
Okay. I'm reading, I got 2 books going. I got this at the book sale at the library the other day, The Sum of All Fears by Tom Clancy.
Yeah.
This book, I'm at like 600 pages in, and I just started reading it a week ago. It's so
good. It's a page turner.
The technical stuff, I kind of skimmed through a little bit.
Yeah.
He'll spend like 5 pages describing every single part of a tank, and I'm just not into that stuff. But the story is so intense, and a nuclear bomb has just gone off in Denver, and it's just, oh my God, it just feels so real. I love Tom Clancy. He's one of my all-time favorites. What's your book?
Well, I'm a big Clancy fan too. We loved a lot of the same genres. So this is a book my old coach, Stan Stewartson, wrote before he passed. And Stan's a legend in basketball in British Columbia, and also real estate in British Columbia. And Stan wrote this book, and it is called Lucky Me, My Life in Basketball by Mr. Stan Stewartson. One of the people that helped me get into real estate, my grandmother, Ozzie Jurek, my old teammate, Martin Henlin, throughout my life. And Stan, when he wrote this, it was basically looking back on his life, like, a lot of people are lucky enough to write about, have a life to actually write about. And I actually found myself in the book in a couple of different instances. In the last year, he was the head coach again at SFU in 1988-89. And some of the parts of the book are positive, and some maybe not so. But everybody's memories are different, and people can forget about what really happened. But I was thinking about Stan, and I was just at the SFU alumni. I still partake in the yearly alumni tournament, and I like to give money to the alumni. The new head coach, I'm going to be having him on our show pretty soon, is Mr. Barnaby Craddock. Congrats and welcome to Simon Fraser University. They used to be called the Klansmen. They're no longer called the Klansmen. They're the
I wonder why.
They're the Simon Fraser University Leafs, Red Leafs. And I've got a hat. I'll just show you. This is a little plug for Barnaby. That was from the golf tournament. That's their new logo, the Red Leafs.
Oh.
And then you've got SFU basketball. Anyways, I'm excited for Barnaby.
Very good.
And we're just going to wrap the show up. Thanks again for joining us. And Johnny's got a pun.
to.
And he'd just like to leave everybody that's actually still watching an opportunity for one last hurrah laugh.
For our millions of fans across the world. Pauly, I don't think you knew this about me, but I used to work part-time at a candlestick factory. I only worked on wick-ends.
Jesus. Johnny
wick-ends.
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. We're going to wrap up, guys, on that brilliance with Johnny and Pauly at the Canadian Bro Show, episode 53. Meet the bros, what it's really like to be Canadian. We just gave you a little tidbit on that. Check out the ticker below, and we've got a couple other episodes going right now, 52 and 51. And at the Canadian Bro Show, this is Paul Bale, the founder and host. On behalf of Johnny Leister,
thank you so much, everyone.
Be kind to everyone. It's free. It's easy. Don't expect anything. Help somebody's day. Be kind. Peace, love, and happiness.